Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Each month, about 68 million Americans receive Social Security benefits, totaling about $1.5 trillion annually. Among those age 65 and older, nearly 86% are beneficiaries. The average monthly benefit for retired workers is $1,975, equating to an annual income of just under $24,000. For individuals receiving the maximum benefit at full retirement age in 2025, this amounts to $4,018 per month, or just about $48,000 per year. Gallup reports that 88% of retirees rely on Social Security to cover their essential expenses. These stats underscore the critical role that Social Security plays for our retirees. Without Social Security, many of our nation's seniors would be in a place of financial hardship, and so funding Social Security is a critical issue. As it currently stands today, by mid-2030s, our trust reserves for Social Security are expected to be fully depleted, at which point the program would solely rely on tax revenues, and those tax revenues would only be enough to pay out about 75% of the current benefits. Since 2021, Social Security payouts have exceeded revenues, reducing trust reserves. And this isn't just a headline, it's a well-documented issue, even highlighted by the Social Security Administration. Now, as you can imagine, if you had to stomach a 25% pay cut, that's probably not something you want to do. And depending on your financial situation, it may not be something you're even able to do. And when we talk about our nation's seniors, many of whom are on fixed incomes, we can see why this is a very real problem. It's important to keep in mind that the shortfall of Social Security trust reserves is a very well-known, very documented issue. It's been decades in the making. Concerns of a shortfall were first raised in the 1970s. Modest reforms happened in the 1980s, but the concerns still persist. And this is important to keep in mind because Social Security itself is a very hot-button issue. And notably, many U.S. presidents have avoided directly addressing the long-term funding issues with Social Security due to the risk involved. Social Security itself is often referred to as the third rail of American politics because touching it can be politically fatal. The term comes from high-voltage railways. The third rail carries electricity and touching it is fatal. Proposed changes are often met with very strong opposition, and as is the case with most politicians, they're focused on short-term policy wins, not long-term issues that tend to extend beyond their tenure in office. Fixing Social Security may require raising retirement ages, increasing payroll taxes, or cutting benefits. All of these are met with very strong public opposition. Every administration inherits ongoing national issues, and Social Security challenges have been decades in the making. And while not the current administration's fault, it is something our current administration or a near-term administration will need to directly address to make sure that this program remains solvent. President Trump has been very vocal about saying that Social Security benefits will not be cut and they will only be strengthened. One of his major talking points during his campaign was that seniors should not have to pay taxes on their Social Security benefits. And this is the idea of addressing taxes on Social Security benefits at the federal level. Presently, it's about 50% of retirees that pay taxes on their Social Security benefits. Depending on your income in retirement, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits could be subject to tax at the federal level. Lower income retirees tend to pay no taxes, whereas it's higher income retirees who are more likely to be taxed. The Senior Citizen League estimates that this change could save seniors $560 per person per year. Eliminating this tax would save seniors money, but it cuts a funding source for Social Security itself. It would increase the insolvency of the funds by $1.5 to $2 trillion by 2035, increasing the rate of insolvency for these funds. So yes, while it might bring relief to seniors, it does come with unintended consequences. President Trump has also suggested that tips and overtime pay should not be subject to taxation at the federal level. Again, this is a noble goal that aims to put more money back in the pockets of the nation's workers who've seen their budgets squeezed in recent years due to high inflation. But also, it cuts another funding source for Social Security itself. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that the combination of eliminating taxes on Social Security benefits to retirees and payroll taxes on tips and overtime pay would accelerate the Social Security trust shortfall to the year 2032. Further, in the event of a shortfall, present estimates suggest that benefits would likely be paid out at roughly 75% of their current level. However, with these additional measures, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that benefit cuts would be even deeper, and payouts would only be about 67% of what they otherwise should have been. So while the immediate goal of these proposals seems to be lifting the financial burden for today's seniors and today's workers, there is a concern that it could worsen or accelerate the rate at which these funds are depleted, making the problem worse for a program that's already operating in the red. However, President Trump has been very adamant on his stance about Social Security and Medicare. He's said on numerous occasions, "I will never do anything that will jeopardize or hurt Social Security." Social Security and Medicare represent a very significant portion of our federal budget. Social Security alone is the federal government's biggest line item and makes up 21% of the budget, and Medicare another 14%. So these two line items alone account for roughly 35% of our national budget. Social Security itself has three funding sources: payroll taxes, which make up 91.3% of the revenues, 3.8% of Social Security revenues come from taxes on Social Security benefits themselves, and the remaining 4.9% come from interest income, as trust surpluses are invested in special government-issued bonds that earn interest. And it's worth touching on that 3.8% that comes from taxes on Social Security benefits themselves. This is the portion that President Trump has suggested removing, and while it's not a substantial funding source, it is still a funding source. For decades, Social Security has relied predominantly on these funding sources. And traditionally, when there are discussions about addressing Social Security funding, we tend to talk about fixing the program as it currently stands, maybe addressing the age at which people are eligible for benefits, addressing payroll taxes, or addressing who's eligible for benefits. We don't tend to talk about alternative funding sources. And while President Trump himself has not outlined a clear plan of how he intends to keep Social Security strong, he has hinted at alternative revenue sources. During a town hall meeting, he suggested that the U.S. could address the looming Social Security issues by tapping into oil and gas reserves. He said, "We have tremendous wealth under our feet. We can use it to save Social Security." And President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, targets waste, fraud, and abuse. While the primary focus of DOGE is to enhance government efficiency, it's been hinted that perhaps surpluses, if discovered, could help to bolster Social Security funding. And again, I have to say, it's been alluded to, it's been hinted at, it's never been said outright. And it's also worth keeping in mind that that's not the primary objective of DOGE. President Trump has also said that he can create a more robust economy and more robust job market, and that in and of itself can increase payroll taxes and help to prop up Social Security in the long term. Using alternative funding sources would mark a major shift in Social Security's financing model. This would require legislative action and congressional approval. It wouldn't be a simple process. It's not to say it's impossible, but it wouldn't be a simple process. And if we were to take a moment and focus on his note about oil drilling as a possible revenue source for Social Security, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that current oil and gas leasing revenues would cover less than 4% of Social Security's funding gap. If DOGE successfully identifies and eliminates inefficiencies, these savings could be used and allocated towards Social Security, but the success really depends on the scale of the savings. Given the substantial funding shortfall facing Social Security, only significant reductions in government spending would make a meaningful impact. And remember that Social Security is the federal budget's biggest line item, so addressing the gap is going to require a significant reallocation of funds. And keep in mind that any suggested proposals for Social Security changes at this time are just that. They're proposals. The quickest any changes could go into effect would be 2026, but right now, everything is just a proposal. There's nothing set in stone. My personal opinion is that addressing Social Security will also require addressing benefits or taxes as they currently stand today. I think one of the best fixes we could do is to lift the cap on income taxes and just have all incomes subject to Social Security benefit taxes. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in a comment down below. I do think it's kind of interesting to explore alternative sources of funding, and maybe we can find a solution that incorporates addressing alternative sources of funding as well as benefits as they stand today. Either way, it's an issue that needs to be addressed. President Trump's proposal aims to ease the financial burden on seniors and workers, but the broader impact must also be considered. Cutting taxes may provide immediate relief, but it may accelerate the rate at which these funds are depleted and lead to deeper cuts in the future. We have to find a way to balance the short-term needs as well as the long-term needs. We have to protect today's retirees as well as the future retirees. What do you think the best fix for the program is? Share your thoughts in the comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. At which point, the tax revenue as an income stream. No. Tax limit, income cap tax limit. I don't even know how to say that nicely. Okay. Funding issues with Social Security because I don't want to. Not their problem. It's gonna be our problem, but it's not theirs. They get a pension and everything. They're fine. They don't even need it. That's why they don't care. But we care. Higher income, lower income retirees. Hopefully you're not working. I hope you're enjoying your retirement. I'm thinking about swim lessons right now for my child. I don't know where my head is, but it's not here. I'm trying to get with you right now, fixing this. Okay. And for decades, can't say since its creation because it's not. There was a modification in the 80s, and if I say creation, someone's gonna pick that apart. It's okay. I get it. Just want things to be accurate, right? It makes sense.